I never thought I'd be sharing this story, but here goes. I'm Elliot, 26M, and 3 years ago, my life turned upside down because of a false accusation from my older sister, Gemma, 29F. I grew up in a small town in Ohio with my parents, John, 55M, and Lisa, 53F, and my sister, Gemma. We lived in a modest 2-story house that my parents had bought when they first got married. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. My dad worked as a high school math teacher, and my mom was a nurse at the local hospital. They weren't wealthy, but they always made sure we had what we needed. Growing up, Gemma and I were pretty close. We'd spend hours playing in our backyard, climbing the old oak tree, and making up elaborate games. She was always the leader, coming up with the rules and storylines, while I was happy to follow along. As we got older, though, things started to change. Gemma was always the overachiever. She was top of her class, captain of the debate team, and seemed to excel at everything she tried. I, on the other hand, was more laid back. I did okay in school, but I was never as driven as Gemma. This difference started to create a rift between us as we entered our teenage years. By the time Gemma went off to college, we had grown apart. She went to a prestigious university on a scholarship, while I stayed local and attended community college. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, so I took a variety of classes, trying to figure things out. After college, Gemma moved to the city and got a job at a big marketing firm. She'd come home for holidays and occasional weekends, always full of stories about her exciting life and successful career. I couldn't help but feel a bit inadequate in comparison. I was still living at home, working part-time at the local grocery store and trying to figure out my next move. Despite our differences, I always thought Gemma and I were okay. We weren't as close as we used to be, but I figured that was just part of growing up. I had no idea how quickly things could fall apart. 3 years ago, Gemma got engaged to her boyfriend, Tom, 31M. They'd been dating for 2 years and everyone was thrilled. Tom was a lawyer from a well-off family, and my parents adored him. He had proposed with a beautiful diamond ring that had been in his family for generations. Gemma was over the moon and couldn't stop showing it off to everyone. The engagement party was a big affair. My parents invited what felt like the whole town to our house to celebrate. I remember feeling a bit out of place among all the successful people Gemma and Tom had invited from the city. I stuck close to my old high school friends who were still in town, feeling more comfortable with them than with Gemma's sophisticated crowd. About a month after the engagement, all hell broke loose. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I had the day off from work. I was in my room, playing video games and enjoying the quiet house. Gemma was visiting for the week, taking some time off work to start planning the wedding with our mom. I heard Gemma come home from a shopping trip with Mom. They were chatting and laughing, downstairs. I didn't think much of it and went back to my game. About an hour later, I heard Gemma screaming. I rushed downstairs to see what was happening, and that's when she accused me of stealing her engagement ring. She said she had taken it off while washing dishes and left it on the kitchen counter. When she went back to get it, it was gone. I was shocked and immediately denied taking it. But Gemma wouldn't listen. She kept yelling that I was the only other person in the house, so it had to be me. She brought up how I was always jealous of her success and how I probably wanted to sell the ring to finally move out and do something with my life. Our parents came home in the middle of this chaos, and Gemma told them her version of events. To my horror, they believed her without question. My mom started crying, asking me how I could do such a thing to my own sister. My dad just looked at me with disappointment in his eyes. They started searching my room, turning everything upside down. They didn't find the ring, but they did find some cash I had saved up from my job at the grocery store. It wasn't much, maybe a few $100s. But Gemma immediately latched onto this, saying I must have sold the ring and that's where the money came from. I tried to explain that I'd been saving for months, thinking about maybe taking some classes at the local community college, but no one would listen. The next few days were a nightmare. My parents and Gemma kept pressuring me to confess and return the ring. They threatened to call the police if I didn't come clean. I was terrified and felt completely alone. No one in my family believed me, and they treated me like a criminal in my own home. I tried reaching out to some of my friends, but most of them had moved away after high school. The few who were still in town seemed hesitant to get involved in family drama. I felt more alone than ever. After a week of constant accusations and threats, my parents made a decision that would change my life forever. They told me I had to leave. They said they couldn't trust me anymore, and that I was bringing shame to the family. They gave me 2 days to pack my things and get out. I was devastated. I had nowhere to go and no idea what to do. My best friend from high school, Ryan, 26M, who had moved back to town recently after a stint in the army, offered to let me crash on his couch for a while, but I knew I couldn't stay there long term. His apartment was tiny, and he was just getting back on his feet himself. I packed what I could into a backpack and an old duffel bag, clothes, some books, my laptop, and a few mementos from happier times. As I was leaving, I saw Gemma watching me from her old bedroom window. For a moment I thought I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes, but then she turned away. Walking out of that house, the only home I'd ever known, was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I felt betrayed and abandoned by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. The worst part was, I hadn't even done anything wrong. For the next few months, I bounced between Ryan's couch and cheap motels, when I could afford them. I picked up whatever odd jobs I could find to make ends meet. I worked as a dishwasher, a dog walker, even spent a few weeks on a construction site. It was a struggle, but I was determined to prove my innocence and make it on my own. Eventually, I managed to land a steady job at a warehouse on the outskirts of town. The work was hard and the hours were long, but it was a regular paycheck. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough for me to rent a small room in a shared house with some other guys from the warehouse. I slowly started rebuilding my life, but the pain of what happened never really went away. I'd lie awake at night, replaying the events in my head, wondering how things had gone so wrong. How could my family have turned on me so quickly? How could Gemma, who I'd grown up with, who knew me better than anyone, believe I would do something like that? I cut off all contact with my family. They tried to reach out a few times in the beginning. My mom would leave tearful voicemails, begging me to come home and make things right. My dad sent a few terse text messages, saying we needed to talk. Gemma even showed up at the warehouse once, but I refused to see her. I couldn't bear to talk to them after what they'd done. As far as I was concerned, they were no longer my family. For 3 years I lived like this. I made new friends at work and in my shared house. We'd hang out after shifts, grab beers, watch games. It wasn't the life I'd imagined for myself, but it was mine, and I'd built it from nothing. I worked hard and even got promoted to shift supervisor at the warehouse. I started taking online classes, studying business management. I was slowly figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. But there was always a part of me that felt angry and hurt about what had happened. I missed my old life and my family, but I couldn't forgive them for not believing me. Every holiday season was tough. I'd see families shopping together or hear Christmas music and feel a pang of longing for what I'd lost. Then, last week, out of the blue, I got an email from my dad. The subject line just said, "We need to talk." The message was brief, saying they needed to speak to me urgently and that it was about the ring incident. At first, I was tempted to ignore it like I had all their previous attempts to contact me, but something made me hesitate. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe a small part of me still hoped for some kind of resolution. After debating with myself for hours, I decided to hear them out. I called my dad, and what he told me left me speechless. The ring had been found. It turns out Gemma had accidentally knocked it into the garbage disposal while doing dishes. She had only realized this a few days ago when the disposal started making strange noises and they called a plumber to check it out. My dad said Gemma was devastated when she realized what had happened and that I had been telling the truth all along. He said they all felt terrible about what they had done to me and wanted to make amends. I hung up the phone feeling a whirlwind of emotions. On one hand, I felt vindicated. I had been telling the truth all along, and now everyone knew it. But on the other hand, I was angry. Angry that it took 3 years for the truth to come out. Angry that I had lost so much time with my family. Angry that I had struggled alone for so long when I had done nothing wrong. Now, I'm at a crossroads. My family wants me to come home. They say they want to make things right. Gemma has been calling and texting nonstop, begging for forgiveness, but I'm not sure I can forgive them. They threw me out without a second thought, chose to believe the worst about me, and left me to fend for myself for 3 years. Part of me wants to tell them all to go to hell, to let them live with the guilt of what they did to me. But another part of me misses my old life and wonders if there's any way to rebuild what we lost. I don't know what to do. Should I give them a chance to make amends? Or should I continue with the life I've built for myself without them in it? I'm torn and could really use some outside perspective on this whole mess. Update 1. It's been a week since my last post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It really helped me sort through my feelings and decide what to do. After much deliberation, I decided to meet with my family. I figured I owed it to myself to hear them out face to face and get some closure, even if I wasn't sure about reconciliation. We agreed to meet at a neutral location, a small coffee shop in the next town over. I chose it because it was far enough from our hometown that we wouldn't run into anyone we knew, but close enough that it wasn't too much of a hassle for anyone to get there. The day of the meeting, I was a bundle of nerves. I hadn't seen my family in 3 years, and I had no idea what to expect. I got to the coffee shop early and chose a table in the corner where we could have some privacy. When they walked in, it was like a punch to the gut. Seeing them after 3 years was intense. My mom burst into tears as soon as she saw me. She looked older than I remembered, with more gray in her hair and lines around her eyes. My dad looked worn and tired, his shoulders slumped like he was carrying a heavy weight. Gemma couldn't even look me in the eye at first. She seemed smaller somehow, less confident than the sister I remembered. We sat down, and for a moment, nobody knew what to say. Then they all started talking at once, apologies tumbling out. My parents said they had failed me as parents by not believing me and kicking me out. They said they had regretted their decision every day since, but pride and shame had kept them from reaching out sooner. My dad, who had always been a man of few words, spoke at length about how he had replayed those days over and over in his mind, trying to understand how he could have been so blind. He said he had always prided himself on being fair and logical, but he had let emotion cloud his judgment when it mattered most. My mom, through her tears, told me how she had kept my room exactly as I'd left it, hoping that one day I'd come back. She said she would wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, thinking she heard me come home only to remember what had happened. Gemma broke down crying, saying she had never forgiven herself for accusing me and ruining our relationship. She talked about how she had always looked up to me when we were kids, even though I was younger. She said she had been so caught up in her own life and problems that she had lost sight of what really mattered. As they talked, memories from our childhood kept flooding back. I remembered the time Gemma had stood up for me when I was being bullied in middle school. I thought about all the times we had laughed together, shared secrets, and supported each other through tough times. It made the betrayal hurt even more, but it also reminded me of the good times we had shared. I listened to everything they had to say, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive them just yet. The pain and anger of the past 3 years were still too raw. I told them I needed time to process everything. They seemed to understand and didn't push for more. Before we left, my mom tried to hug me, but I stepped back. I wasn't ready for that level of closeness yet. The hurt look on her face almost made me change my mind, but I held firm. I needed to protect myself emotionally. After the meeting, I went back to my apartment and really thought about what I wanted. Did I want my old life back? Could I ever trust them again? Was it worth trying to rebuild our relationship? I realized that while I missed having a family, I had also grown a lot in the past 3 years. I had become independent, resilient, and had built a life for myself from scratch. I wasn't the same person they had kicked out 3 years ago. I thought about my job at the warehouse, my online classes, and the friends I had made. I had worked hard to get where I was, and I was proud of what I had accomplished on my own. The thought of giving that up and going back to my old life felt wrong somehow. At the same time, I couldn't deny that seeing my family had stirred up a lot of emotions. Despite everything, there was still a part of me that loved them and missed them. I found myself wondering if it was possible to have a relationship with them while still maintaining my independence. After a few days of reflection, I made a decision. I called my parents and told them that while I appreciated their apology, I wasn't ready to fully reconcile yet. I told them I needed more time and space to heal. I also set some boundaries. I said I was willing to have limited contact with them, but I wasn't moving back home or pretending like nothing had happened. I told them that if we were going to have any kind of relationship moving forward, it would have to be on my terms. They were disappointed, but said they understood. They promised to respect my boundaries and give me the time I needed. My mom asked if she could call me once a week, just to check in, and I agreed, figuring it was a good way to start rebuilding trust slowly. As for Gemma, I decided to keep my distance for now. Her actions had hurt me the most, and I wasn't ready to forgive her. Yet, I told her I needed more time before I could even consider having a relationship with her again. She was upset, but said she understood and would wait until I was ready. It's been a difficult week, full of emotional ups and downs. There have been moments when I've second-guessed my decision, wondering if I'm being too harsh or if I'm missing out on a chance to have my family back. But then, I remember how easily they turned on me, and I know I'm doing the right thing by taking it slow. I've also started looking into therapy options. Many of you suggested it in the comments, and I think it might be helpful to have a professional to talk to as I navigate this complicated situation. I've never been to therapy before, so I'm a bit nervous about it, but I think it could be good for me. For now, I'm focusing on my job and my studies. I have a big project coming up at work, and I'm determined not to let all this family drama distract me from my goals. I'm also thinking about maybe moving to a better apartment. I've been saving up, and I think I might be ready for a place of my own, without roommates. Thank you all again for your support. It means a lot to know that there are people out there who understand and care, even if we've never met. I'll update again if anything significant changes. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and I wanted to share some developments. I've been sticking to the boundaries I set with my family. We've had a few phone calls and text exchanges, but nothing too intense. It's been, okay, awkward at times, but not as painful as I feared it might be. My parents have been respecting my wishes for the most part. They check in every now and then, but don't push for more than I'm willing to give. I can tell they're trying hard to rebuild trust, but it's a slow process. My mom calls once a week as we agreed. At first, these calls were strained and full of long silences, but they're getting a bit easier. We mostly talk about neutral topics, her work at the hospital, the weather, my online classes. It's not much, but it's a start. My dad has been sending me short emails, usually just checking in or sharing something he thought I might find interesting. Last week, he sent me an article about a new business opening up in our hometown. It was a small gesture, but it reminded me of how he used to clip newspaper articles for me when I was younger. Gemma, on the other hand, has been struggling with the distance I've put between us. She sent me several long, emotional messages apologizing and begging for a chance to make things right. I've responded briefly, reiterating that I need more time. It's hard, but I'm standing firm on this. I know she's hurting, but I'm not ready to deal with her emotions on top of my own. The big news is that I've started therapy. I found a counselor who specializes in family trauma, and we've had a few sessions so far. It's been tough dredging up all the pain from the past, but I think it's helping. My therapist is helping me work through my anger and trust issues and giving me tools to set healthy boundaries. In our last session, we talked about how the incident with the ring wasn't just about the accusation itself, but about years of feeling like I didn't measure up to Gemma's success. It's made me realize that there were issues in our family dynamic long before the ring incident, and that healing will involve addressing those too. One unexpected outcome of all this is that I've grown closer to my friends, especially Ryan. They've been incredibly supportive throughout this whole ordeal. Ryan even offered to come with me to any future family meetings for moral support. It's made me realize that family isn't just about blood. It's about who stands by you when things get tough. Work has been a good distraction. I've thrown myself into my job and even got a small promotion. I'm now in charge of inventory management for my shift, which comes with a bit more responsibility and a small pay bump. It feels good to have something positive to focus on. As for my living situation, I've decided to stay in my current place for now. It's not much, but it's mine, and it represents the independence I've fought hard for. My parents offered to help me find a better apartment, but I turned them down. I need to do this on my own. I did, however, start looking at options for continuing my education more seriously. There's a state university about an hour away that offers night classes. I'm considering applying for their business program. It would be a big step, but I think I'm ready for it. Overall, I'm taking things one day at a time. Some days are harder than others. There are moments when I miss the easy closeness we used to have as a family. But then I remember how quickly they turned on me, and I know I can't rush this process. My therapist says it's okay to have mixed feelings about all this. She's encouraging me to be patient with myself and not feel pressured to forgive before I'm ready. We're working on strategies for dealing with family gatherings and holidays, which are coming up soon and making me more anxious than I'd like to admit. For now, I'm focusing on healing and building a life I'm proud of, with or without my family in it. It's not easy, but I'm hopeful for the future. I'm learning that it's okay to take care of myself first, and that setting boundaries doesn't make me a bad person. Thank you all for your continued support. Your comments and messages have been a source of strength through all this. It helps to know I'm not alone in dealing with family issues like this. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my original post, and I felt it was time for a final update. A lot has changed in the past few months. The biggest news is that I've decided to move to a different city for a new job opportunity. It's a big step up in my career, and I'm excited about the fresh start. The job is with a logistics company, doing work similar to what I was doing at the warehouse, but on a much larger scale. It's a management position, which is something I've been working towards for a while now. The salary is significantly better than what I was making before, and it comes with benefits like health insurance and a 401k plan. Before I made this decision, I had a long talk with my therapist. We discussed how this move might affect my healing process and my relationship with my family. In the end, we agreed that this could be a positive step for me. A chance to truly stand on my own 2 feet and define myself outside of the family drama. I told my parents about the move last week. They were surprised and a bit upset, but they said they understood. My mom cried a little, saying she had hoped we'd have more time to rebuild our relationship before I left. My dad was more stoic, but I could tell he was disappointed too. They both expressed concern about me being alone in a new city, but I assured them that I'd be fine. Gemma took it the hardest. She showed up at my apartment unannounced after I told her, begging me not to go. She said she felt like she was losing me all over again. It was a difficult conversation, but I stood my ground. I told her that this move was something I needed to do for myself, and that our relationship wasn't in a place where her opinion could factor into my decision. As for our relationship, things are better, but not great. We've had a few family dinners over the past months. They've been tense and awkward at times, but we're slowly learning how to be around each other again. Trust is still a big issue. I find myself second-guessing their motives sometimes, wondering if they really mean what they say or if they're just trying to assuage their guilt. My therapist has been invaluable through all of this. She's helped me process my feelings and set healthy boundaries. One thing she's stressed is that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending the hurt never happened. It's about letting go of the anger for my own peace of mind. I've taken that to heart. While I don't think I'll ever forget what happened, I'm working on forgiving my family, not for their sake, but for mine. Carrying around all that anger and resentment was exhausting, and I'm ready to let it go. As I prepare for this move, I've been reflecting on everything that's happened. 3 years ago, I felt like my life was over. I had lost everything and everyone I cared about. But now, I can see how much I've grown from that experience. I'm stronger, more independent, and I know my own worth in a way I never did before. I'm not sure what the future holds for me and my family. We're planning to stay in touch after I move. Weekly phone calls and visits during holidays. It's a start. Maybe with time and distance, we'll be able to build something new. For now, I'm focusing on my future. I'm excited about my new job, the new city, and all the possibilities ahead of me. I've started looking at apartments online and researching the area where I'll be living. It's a mix of excitement and nervousness, but mostly I'm looking forward to this new chapter in my life. Whatever happens with my family, I know I'll be okay. I've proven to myself that I can handle whatever life throws at me, and I've learned the importance of surrounding myself with people who believe in me and support me, whether they're related to me or not.